Media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
And yes, welcome to the Consumer Quarterback Show. We love to help you win. We've got a great lineup for you today. We're going to have our criminal defense attorney and expert contributor Anthony Rickman on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Going to be on the program, local attorney here in Tampa Bay. Also, Logan Briggs kicking off with Logan Briggs Total Home Roofing online at throofing.com. He's the director of sales. He is going to give us an update. He's actually down in Charlotte County and in Venice and been down to Fort Myers. So he's going to give us an update on what he's seeing down in the hurricane-stricken areas and what kind of progress we're seeing. So he's going to give us a live update on location in Southwest Florida. And before we do, we always like to feature our real estate listings live on air. We do that to help our sellers, profit more and sell faster. We got 3362 Cedar Crest Loop. This is one of our listings, a hot property listing here in Tampa Bay on Cedar Crest Loop. This is a property that has a large backyard. You've got really just an open floor plan, huge front yard as well, gated community, granite countertops, wood cabinetry, 4 bedrooms, 3 bath, almost 2,450 square feet, 3362 Cedar Crest Loop in Spring Hill, gated community, low HOA fees, beautiful pool and spa package right here in beautiful Tampa Bay. And you can see all of our real estate listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
This is God's country.
All right. So, Logan, welcome back to the show, my friend. Logan Briggs, Consumer Quarterback Show expert contributor for all things roofing throughout the state of Florida. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, Brandon. Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Hey, excellent, man. My pleasure. So, tell me a little bit about what you're seeing down there, man. I know, I went down there when it first happened, but it's been a couple weeks now, and things are hopefully getting a little bit progressively better and electric, back on for a lot of folks. What are you seeing down there, Logan?
Yeah, so I've been primarily in the Sarasota County, kind of Venice, Port Charlotte, Northport area. And, we're starting to see things start to get a little bit back to normal. We're starting to see schools, I think, are opening back up in Venice. But there's still a lot of work to do down here, not only with, roofing, but just general debris cleanup. You still go down streets and, the debris is piled up at the end of everyone's driveway higher than the car.
Wow.
It's hard to even see some people's homes because there's just so much debris. I would feel like almost 90% of the trees went down in the Venice area.
Wow.
It's incredible to witness just the widespread devastation.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I remember when I was driving down, I would be looking to the the right-hand side off of I-75 heading south, Northport, Port Charlotte, and you'd see, how sometimes you can see down the roads as you're looking to the right, traveling south, and you would see just the roads covered with water still, and you'd see either large 4-wheel drive trucks or airboats or John boats. People that's the way they were getting around rescuing people.
Yeah, it's incredible. You're seeing just like the mobile home parks as well. They are totally devastated, and luckily a lot of the snowbirds that live in those weren't down quite yet, or they held off until after the storm, but you're seeing a lot of devastation there. Just the tops ripped off, the sides ripped off. They've been shifted. They've been thrown across the streets, blocking traffic. There's been a lot of damage done in the mobile home parks, along with just devastation to just roofs across whole neighborhoods.
Right.
One of the things that we're running into a major issue is there's a lot of snowbirds that still haven't came down to their properties yet. So if you know anybody that owns property that might not live in Florida all year round that haven't came down yet, they need to have a neighbor check on their property, or they definitely need to come down and visit their property and to make sure that everything's okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of people are, still up north, haven't come down yet, and that's something to be careful of, be cognizant of. Reach out to the show. We can put you in touch with Logan and his team also. Maybe there's some, tarping that needs to be done, different, roof, of course, repairs. 813-917-1894. Call or text the hotline, 813-917-1894. And on that note, let's talk a little bit about some of the contractor tips. What, we always talk about people getting taken care care of, these different scams, huge, large deposits. What are some of the contractor tips that are applicable right now?
Yeah, so I mean, it's the state of Florida tries to do its best job possible to protect the homeowners in Florida, and they've already had a couple of arrests down in actually the Venice area and the Fort Myers area with contractors going out there and acting like they have Florida licenses, and they're trying to do roofs, and they're taking enormous, large deposits from people. So those are always going to be red flags right off the bat. But you're going to need to do your homework. I mean, unfortunately, most of the homeowners down here in a situation where they need to make decisions quickly. And I know they might feel that stress and pressure, but it's very important that they do their homework, make sure they're using a local contractor that's licensed and insured in the state of Florida in order to do work on their home. That's a major one. And then also there shouldn't be any deposit over, I would say, 20% is probably the max deposit you should ever give a contractor, especially in these conditions down that we're seeing in Southwest Florida. I mean, at Total Home Roofing, we don't require any down payments at all. You don't pay us a dime until this project's completed and done. We pass final inspection. But regardless, there are some contractors that do require that. So just be very cautious when dealing with those contractors.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you just joined us, we're talking with Logan Briggs, Director of Sales, Total Home Roofing, online at throofing.com. I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes, here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And it's what a challenging time for people. And some of the challenges. So it's already exacerbating what we have is a low inventory market, and of course, tenants are being charged record numbers in rents. The rents are high. The rents keep going up. The rents are so high. You think about housing almost as a commodity, right? I mean, similar to oil, gold, water, wheat, etc., right? There's a shortage of something, the prices increases. So the Tampa Bay Times recently did a housing piece kind of highlighting some of those sharp increases that you see not only in apartments but also single-family homes that are being rented, and we're kind of underbuilt in this area. Plus, you have the effects of the Chinese communist virus that hit as well, and the lockdowns. People are moving to Florida in record numbers. So now you've got a situation where there was already low numbers. We've lost a lot of homes in Southwest Florida and across the state. I think, there's some other areas that got hit pretty bad too. Osceola County and some of the other counties, Orange County, I think it was. But now, so we already have a situation where we had low inventory and rising rents. Now we have even less inventory. Logan Briggs.
Yeah, what I would say to that, I mean, what we've noticed down here is just we have a lot of crews coming into the Southwest Florida market. We have a lot of reps coming down to help. A lot of our production team members are coming down here, and they don't have a place to stay. That's what I've noticed too, is that there's just not enough hotels. We've noticed that it's even difficult to even rent on Airbnb right now.
Right.
So if you know any homeowners out there that have a home that they're not using in the Southwest Florida area, open it up to Airbnb. It's a great opportunity to do some short-term rentals, and you're going to be helping a lot of people out.
Yeah, and I also heard that RV sales are like up at record numbers right now. I know my dad lost a fifth wheel down there in Chuckaluskee, Everglades City. It got flooded out and completely, ruined with the salt water going in, affecting the electrical system. So he lost, complete use of his fifth wheel, lost his home basically. And wow. RV sales are just up through the roof right now. He said so many people are kind of having that idea of like, look, I'm going to buy this for a temporary, but then also, hey, if the next storm comes, I'm going to hook up to it and pull it up to Georgia or something.
Yeah. I mean, we saw probably a lot of folks leave with their RVs, but now they're all coming back. And as you drive around in the areas like Fort Myers that were hit really, really hard, you're starting to see like little RV like makeshift parks just show up in people's yards and then in different little acreages. And it's pretty interesting that the good thing, the storm has brought a lot of people together. What we've noticed too is that neighbors helping neighbors, and it's everyone's trying their best to rebuild Florida.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Now, do most people have power back?
Yeah. So I mean, the Fort Myers area is still. There are some spotty areas where there is not electricity, but for the most part, it seems like a lot of the electricity in kind of the outside of the areas where the eye didn't come through, there is electricity back. I know that the Venice and the Northport area was on a boil advisory for a while, but I believe that's been called off. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that power and Wi-Fi and the internet is definitely coming back on in a lot of the areas.
Yeah. Man, it's a tough time out there for a lot of people. I know there's still some groups, some companies, supporting the folks that were affected. There's still shipments of stuff. I see Keller Williams doing a lot of things to help people there. So insurance, that's another big issue. Tell us kind of your inside scoop on insurance. The insurance industry got hit pretty hard. Looks like it's going to get hit even harder, and premiums are going to increase. What are you seeing on the insurance side?
Yeah, obviously they're seeing a huge influx in claims right now. I believe that there's 512,000 claims have already been submitted, and we're only, I think this is probably the third week after the storm, and that number's only going to continue to increase. So as we consider to see that the insurance homeowner systems kind of stress, we're going to probably see premiums rise,
right.
Especially if you're trying to get new coverage right now. I think that I had a couple of our homeowners that were trying to move insurance companies, and they got some new bids, and it was almost double or triple of what they were currently paying. So, right now it's a very tough time to be shopping for homeowners insurance. If you have it and you're in one of the areas that were hard hit by the storm, you need to, if you're experiencing a lot of damages, it's very important that you go ahead and get that claim submitted now. I tell a lot of folks, one day will turn into 1 month. Things
Right.
start to get backed up. The adjusters get backed up. The insurance companies get backed up, and you'll just see a large delay in a lot of things that might take 1 week, might take 4 weeks now to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a challenging time. And if you need anything in the roofing industry, we've got the absolute best company online right now. Do a little bragging, Logan. You guys are, I forgot what number as far as largest companies in the country, roofing companies. Total Home Roofing, throofing.com. One of the biggest companies in the state, right, or in the nation, right?
Yes, sir. We were just ranked the 12th largest residential roofer in the state, and we're just continuing to see. Obviously, with the huge demand right now, we are able to get everyone covered. Our lead times have not really gone past about 3 to 4 weeks. We're continuing to build and build and build. Our supply chain and our partners with our distributors and our vendors is very strong. So we're doing a lot of forecasting with them to ensure that when those customers need the roof, we're able to build it quickly.
Gotcha. All right. Excellent. All right. Let's take a quick break there. Thank you so much, Logan. And more from the Consumer Quarterback Show online at consumerqb.com coming up as well later in the program. We're going to talk with criminal defense attorney Anthony Rickman. We're going to get an update on some local cases, also national cases happening in that criminal defense sector, and also more coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Feel good story. New York ballpark legend Fred Costello sets record for longest playing organist in sports. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, it's the Captain, Matt Bruce, and you're listening to my buddy Brandon Rhymes, a consumer quarterback. Sell, Brandon, sell.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Ian Beckles here with my man Brandon Rhymes, a.k.a. the real estate quarterback. Brandon, what's happening with the market?
Thanks, Ian. Any of our listeners out there, we'll offer you a 2% listing for the first 3 callers that reach out to the hotline, 813-917-1894. Call or text the hotline, 813-917-1894. Also, a great opportunity for folks out there looking for a part-time gig, maybe a side hustle, is Keller Williams Real Estate School, powered by Kaplan. Reach out if you'd like more information on how we have a free real estate school for you, online class, get licensed, and start referring business in, or maybe make a new career. 813-917-1894, consumerqb.com for our syndicated radio and TV show on 80 outlets worldwide, consumerqb.com, or our real estate website at platinummvpteam.kw.com. That's platinummvpteam.kw.com. And please follow us online at Brandon Rhymes 1 on Instagram, Twitter, Getter, and check out our YouTube channel, Brandon Rhymes Realty. Make it a great day. Hey, Brandon Rhymes here for Cleaning Commandos here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Cleaning Commandos are hiring, and they're offering competitive wages, flexible hours, relaxed atmosphere, and a sign-on bonus. Reach out if you'd like a career with the Cleaning Commandos here in Tampa Bay. Info at cleaningcommandosllc.com or call 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550. Cleaning Commandos, Consumer Quarterback Show.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
And we're back. Brandon Rhymes, Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team. Thanks so much for supporting the show, supporting our real estate business. It means the world to us. Thank you so much. 813-917-1894, 1894. And you can call or text that line, 813-917-1894, consumerqb.com. And Logan Briggs, Total Home Roofing, on the program. Before we jump back into that, I want to let you know about one of our hot listings here. We've got a lot of land listings here in Tampa Bay as well. 9031 122nd Avenue. This is a $4.5 million listing. So attention builders, developers, entrepreneurs, folks that are looking for a safe investment, you could buy this land and kind of hold it like a land bank. 9031 122nd Avenue in Tampa. This is a prime development opportunity right off of I-75 at Fowler Avenue. You could build multifamily and potential for a truck stop. I'm getting all kind of calls on it. $4 million listing. Compliments of the Platinum MVP team. And you can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Somewhere sunny and 75.
And a quick shout out to Discovery Golf Cars here in Tampa Bay, discoverygolfcars.com, the official golf cart provider of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Easy Go, Star EV, Cushman. They offer new and pre-owned. And you can rent or buy. Talk to Ethan, Luster, or Marty. They are the owners over at Discovery Golf Cars. Make sure you let them know the real estate quarterback sent you. All right, coming up here, Logan Briggs on the program. I'm going to go back to Logan here in just a moment. Before we do, I just want to touch on some of the momentum in Florida. Here's a clip from our great governor, Ron DeSantis, on some of the voter demographics and how it's changed recently.
Cut 4, Ron DeSantis has changed the state of Florida completely and totally. What was once a blue state, bluish state, a battleground state, has now become a deep red state. Florida is a blueprint for the rest of the nation, and we're going to make Arizona next. Play cut 4.
Well, here's what's happened. When I got elected governor in November of 2018, there were close to 300,000 more registered Democrats in the state of Florida than Republicans. And prior to me becoming governor, we had never in Florida history had more registered Republicans than registered Democrats. Well, the books are closed for November's election, so the registration deadline is passed. And I can report that we now have over 300,000 more registered Republicans than Democrats.
300,000 new Republicans and Democrats.
That's a 600,000 swing in the state of Florida. So good news for the state of Florida in terms of pro-business and pro-freedom. And, and again, that's causing a lot of the housing, the migration's causing a lot of the housing shortages that we're seeing both on the rental side and the ownership side. So when it comes to real estate, that's one of the challenges. So you think about, what are the solutions? We got to build more. We need to build more homes. We need to open up the economy, go back to the Trump energy policies, encourage higher density areas to build more homes, go vertical, build more homes, more units, essentially, close to transit centers as well. So if you have buses and some locations where you have these transit centers, that's going to help trains. That's going to help the growth to happen. Zoning, also, you need to be able to say, hey, look, this is commercial traditionally, industrial traditionally, but we're going to switch this over to residential. We need more people to live here. More people are working from home also. That's a big factor. You don't have to have that 1980s model where you live within driving distance in many cases, because people are working from home at record numbers. So there's some solutions to this. Let's go back to the phone lines. Logan Briggs, Total Home Roofing. What else are you seeing? What else do you think's topical right now?
Yeah, I mean, really what we're seeing the most of is that we just need those snowbirds to reach out to us as soon as they can. If they're not at their property now, we can go and do an inspection for them. I've worked with a couple already out of New York and New Jersey, also Pennsylvania, where they're just not they're not coming back down. They don't plan on it, whether that's because they want to stay out of the way because of the storm recovery, or they just don't plan on coming down this season. It is vital that you get your property inspected, especially with your roof, because a lot of these roofs have been, 90% of the roof, 50% of the roof has been torn off, and it's going to leave the decking exposed, which is going to get water into the home, and it's going to create a lot of problems for you. That's when you can start to get mold issues. You're going to have to get drywall, new ceilings, new walls, new paint, and if you haven't had your property checked on, you need to have your property checked on immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the longer it goes, the more it's going to just exponentially affect the property. You're going to have mold growing in there. By the way, shout out to Brandon Faust and his team with mold solutions here. Mold Solutions can help you with that. So that's a challenge, man. Are you seeing what else are you seeing like on the ground? You mentioned neighbors are kind of helping out each other. Do you have good? Is there much looting? Are you seeing a good presence of police and deputies?
Yeah, it definitely feels safe down here in the Venice area, in the Northport area. I definitely think that there is a police presence down here. It feels very safe to do as much work as we possibly can. One of the things that we will notice that you're going to notice is a lot of license plates from other states that are other contractors. We're seeing a lot of those, whether they're tarping homes or they're doing tree and debris removal. Just be very careful that when you're talking with other trades, whether those are electricians or plumbers or especially roofing, that you're dealing with local licensed and insured contractors. There's already been a couple of arrests down here, and I'm sure there's going to be more. So just be very wary of that. And when you're dealing with contractors that are going to replace and fix your homes.
Yeah, absolutely. And reach out to the show hotline. We can put you in touch with all the best contractors, attorneys. If you need representation, we've got great attorneys associated with the show, financial advisors, CPAs, all types of tech experts, different folks that can help you in different areas of your life and business. Reach out to the show hotline. And Logan, back to you. Final thought, my friend.
Yeah, we got a long road ahead of us down here, but I mean, we've got a great state and a lot of great people that live here that are going to work really hard to rebuild Southwest Florida. But like I said, we've got to be patient and we got to work a lot of hard work ahead of us, but we're going to do a great job doing it. We're going to build back.
I love it. Awesome. All right, my friend, Logan Briggs, thanks for calling in. Appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Brandon.
All right, my pleasure. All right, so that's Logan Briggs, a longtime friend of the program, throofing.com. You can find him online. And let's see here. I want to play a quick clip here. A couple different ways we could go here. Talk about the happiness gap.
So I think we need to start by adding the context that the fact that there is a happiness gap between left and right is actually not news. Polling companies first started surveying people about overall life satisfaction in 1972.
I got no clock, Jose.
And the results have consistently found that conservatives tend to be happier than liberals. Now, the thing that has changed is theories about why that is. So some sociologists have argued that it has to do with their views on meritocracy, whether or not you think someone gets ahead by working hard, which also ties in with feelings of agency. And then religious beliefs also seem to have a strong correlation to happiness, and conservatives tend to be more religious. In 2015, Science magazine ran a paper that essentially argued conservatives just think that they're happier. And finally, conservative commentator George Will once joked that maybe it's all this news about conservatives being happier that's depressing liberals. But the latest research has also shown some interesting dichotomies between men and women that offer some new clues about what's going on here. So both liberal men and women are less happy than their conservative counterparts, but liberal women are a lot less happy.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You see, like the conservatives, yes, they're happier, they're more religious. They care about things like freedom. They care about things like right to life, situations like that, and they just have that traditional family household in many cases: father, mother, the happy family, couple of kids, 2.2 kids, right? And then, on the liberal side, they want you to be a single mother and working and kind of peddling those mentalities, those strategies. So, all right, going to break here. Coming back, criminal defense attorney Anthony Rickman, Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or check out our YouTube channel. Have a blessed day.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com.
Five, four, three, two, one.
listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, we're back. Brandon Rhymes, Consumer Quarterback Show, Platinum MVP team. Keller Williams Realty, 18735 Rogerland. So another one of our hot listings. This one's up in Pasco County, rural Pasco County area. So bring your boats, bring your jet skis and your buggies and all that good stuff, four-wheelers. You got 1,700 square foot brand new home, basically. It's completely rebuilt, beautiful home. And you got a large lot, over an acre of land, brand new cabinets, granite counters, tile, beautiful flooring, new AC roof. And beautiful property here in Tampa Bay, completely renovated and remodeled. 18735 Rogerland Road in Spring Hill. You can see all of our listings at platinummvpteam.kw.com.
Somewhere sunny and 75.
All right, Anthony Rickman in the house. Attorney Anthony Rickman, that is, criminal defense attorney. Welcome in, sir.
Brandon, thanks for having me back.
Hey, my pleasure, man. So, yeah, let's jump right into it. I always love bringing you on and kind of getting these updates on local stories. Sometimes we touch on the national stories. And you had the Parkland. It's got to be up there with one of the ones most topical right now.
Yeah, I think everyone who watched that trial, who knows what happened in that case, was shocked to find that jury deciding that Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland shooter, was going to spend the rest of his life in prison as opposed to being executed through lethal injection.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about the death penalty,
yeah,
he's the poster child of the death penalty, right?
How many people did he kill?
17.
Jeez.
I mean, the death penalty was created for people like Nicholas Cruz who walk into a school with with an AR and shoot up a school, killing innocent children.
Jeez.
And it just shows you how hard it is now to have somebody executed in the state of Florida or in any state. And we've seen the evolution of death penalty. Originally, a few years ago, all you needed was a majority of the people, of the jurors, to decide death. Then it moved through Supreme Court decisions to state Supreme Courts. It moved to plurality, meaning you needed greater than a plurality of the jurors.
Seven versus
6, 9 versus 9 of the 12.
Yep.
And now it's all 12 jurors have to
unanimous.
agree unanimously on death.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Because look, at the end of the day, it is the ultimate punishment. There is no greater punishment than the death penalty in any country, any state.
Right.
No, that's it. And in our state of Florida, the Supreme Court has decided, they rolled back what's been going on for years, that in order to convict somebody and sentence them to death, you need every single juror. And all you need is one. So if there's one holdout saying life and all 11 of them are saying death, for whatever reason, that person's saying life, he's going to get life.
Yeah. And this is an interesting topic too. One of my latest, I've been listening to Dennis Prager has 3 awesome books I highly recommend for people. You pull out the Bible, you start reading the Bible. It's hard to follow for the common layperson. He does these books on the Torah, which is Genesis, the Rational Bible, Genesis, Exodus, and got the Deuteronomy. So he was going through it, and it talked about this specific topic about death penalties, right? Yeah. So some people that say, oh, no, we shouldn't make another kill with it. Well, put yourself in the shoes of the victim. Imagine you're the victim. You're thinking about it from a victim standpoint. Wouldn't you want justice for your family member?
Well, a lot of death penalty cases you see, there's people on the side say he shouldn't get death. Those victims were clear. They wanted Nicholas Cruz executed.
Yeah.
And they had to sit there through a sentencing hearing, through a sentencing trial, where they saw witnesses showing that this person had mental illness, was abused. Look, if you go into a building and you kill kids, you have mental illness.
Yeah.
Okay? You're sick.
Yep.
He's sick. Okay, but what the jury found is that those mitigating factors, his mental illness, his upbringing, were not, the aggravating factors didn't outweigh those mitigating factors. But when you talk about the aggravating factors, what more aggravating can you have than the cold, calculated, and cruel manner in which he killed those children?
Yeah.
The premeditated, planned manner in which they killed those children. Those are all factors the jury consider. And again, all it takes is one. And when you talk about selecting a jury, I do it in my cases. When I'm selecting a jury in a criminal case, you're trying to find out that juror who's going to side with you. And in this particular case, the defense found their juror. And I know that because they stopped their presentation of the case mid-trial. Remember, there was a big dust-up between the defense attorney and the judge because the defense rested out of nowhere. I think they rested because they knew they had one. And that's all it takes. In a criminal case, say, for instance, you have a circumstance where there's one holdout, and it's on the trial phase. Is this person guilty or is this person not guilty?
Yeah.
It's a hung jury. You get another chance to retry him with a different jury. Death penalty phase doesn't work like that.
Really?
If there's one holdout who's steadfast and holding out, it's life.
Wow.
You don't get a second chance at that jury. You don't get a second bite of the apple like you would in the trial phase. And that's what the distinction is. So that's why it makes it so hard to be successful in the death penalty prosecution.
That'll be interesting to see, too, if he gets killed in prison. I was watching that, on Netflix, Dahmer. Yep. Yeah, I guess he was in a state that wouldn't allow for it, but they kind of took it on their own to finish it off.
He's going to be protected to some extent. He'll be in protective custody. But there is prison justice.
Right.
And there is a God.
Yeah.
And for somebody like that, 18 years old, 19 years old, let's assume there isn't prison justice, okay?
Yeah.
He's going to spend the rest of his life behind bars. There's no chance of him getting out. He'll never be able to get out. But at the same time, those kids had an ability to live a life that he took from them. And while he's living their life, they're not. And
not to be bringing up an insensitive point, but, taxpayers, we got to pay 60 plus years if he lives to be 88, to feed this guy every day, to house this guy, to shout, all the water. I mean, why should we have to pay for that?
Yeah. Look, the death penalty is expensive too, but obviously when you talk about his age, the finances to house this guy for the rest of his life is much greater than what it would have been to execute him. But again, we can't consider how much it's going to cost him. We should consider justice. And in this case, I think everybody's clear. When you have Charlie Crist and Ron DeSantis both agreeing this person should have been executed, what does that tell you? I mean, they're agreeing on something, and it's to put this guy to death, right?
Absolutely.
I think the jury got it wrong. I hate to say it, never like saying it, but the jury clearly got it wrong here when you look at this case.
Yeah, absolutely. Anthony Rickman here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, criminal defense attorney Anthony Rickman on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes. Let's go ahead and talk about this deputy that lost his life serving a warrant and. Tell me.
Yeah, there's a tragic situation. I'm a defense attorney, but I'm a father. I got family, and I support law enforcement.
Yep.
And Deputy Blaine Lane was killed in line of duty, Polk County, executing a search warrant, and he was killed by a stray bullet. And I'm very close personal friends with the family, very good family, God-loving family, very law enforcement-oriented family. He has a small daughter, and they're trying to raise funds for the family. They have a Fund the First fund, which they're collecting money to help support his daughter, help support the expenses of funeral. Any bit anyone would give would be very helpful to the family.
It's on GoFundMe.
It's actually called Fund the First, and Fund the First is I think you're familiar with it. It's like a GoFundMe, but 100% of the proceeds go to the victim's family. They're not cutting off the top, and it's specifically designed for first responders, military, law enforcement.
Nice. Okay.
So it's a foundation that we vetted. It's a fund that we know the proceeds are going to go to the cause, which is this deputy's daughter.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll check them out online. Fund the First. Last name was
Blaine. Is Deputy Blaine Lane, Lane.
Blaine Lane. Got it. All right, and so we also like to talk about local stories. So we got a local story here in serial killer, Seminole Heights serial killer. Some people know as McDonald's story killer guy. One trial versus 4. Big news, right?
Yeah, big news. And here what happened originally was, if you remember, the state tried to get the judge to allow evidence of all the other crimes to come into trial of each individual case. And the court said no, that each case has to be tried on the merits, that these cases were so distinct, that we're not going to let each jury hear about all these different murders, that they can only hear about the one murder. That was appealed. The Second District Court of Appeal reversed the lower court, reversed our local judge, and said that the jurors can't hear it. Now you would have a potential where you have 4 separate trials, but the jurors now hearing about all of the different murders in each one of those individual trials.
Wow.
Now the defense, as a matter of strategy, reversed. And they said, rather than having 4 individual trials, we're just going to do 1. Well, why not? Look at Nicholas Cruz. The state is seeking death in this particular case. If the defense were to proceed on 4 individual trials, that's 4 separate juries. All you need is one of those juries to say death. As opposed now, you can consolidate your resources, get one jury, one juror, like we saw in Nicholas Cruz, to say life, and it may spare this defendant the death penalty if he's convicted, which I think the evidence is mounted against him. I think the likelihood of conviction is great in this particular case.
Yeah.
And I think in this circumstance, they're fighting to keep him alive, at least the defense is.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Hey, anybody that's, I remember hearing about that, that starts to affect the local economy. That starts to affect tourism. You can't have those scenarios coming up, serial killers, basically inciting fear in so many people in Tampa Bay.
Well, remember Chief Dugan came out and said, bring me his head.
Yeah.
And the chief was very strong. The chief was a very strong chief. he did a great job. And when we eventually, caught him, and now the state attorney's office is prosecuting this case, is going to bring him to justice, and they're seeking the death penalty.
Wow. Yeah, I love it. Here's one. Southern border. You got an open southern border. You've got fentanyl, drug deaths. You got rapes happening. You got all kinds of people. 52 people dying in the back of a semi truck. I want to play this quick clip about Mayorkas. This is new information that came out showing that he knew that the Border Patrol agents were not whipping as they said they would. Literally taking a whip. How you, as a cowboy, you'd have the whoosh, you whip the. They weren't doing it. They lied. They ran it through their whole media circus. Here's a clip.
But it was horrible to see, as you saw. To see people treated like they did, horses barely running them over, people being strapped, it's outrageous. I promise you those people will pay.
We were indeed horrified by the images. That does not reflect our policies, our training, nor our values. And it is for that reason that we commenced immediately a fulsome and swift investigation to determine what exactly occurred and why those officers depicted in the images are no longer performing their law enforcement duties during the pendency of the investigation.
All right, so the months-long investigation finds no wrongdoing, and now we have an email that informed Secretary Mayorkas over 2 hours before he talked to the public in that press briefing that the allegation of whipping against the agents was actually false. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. There was no need for an investigation. He knew it at the time. He called for an investigation. He knew it at the time that he said it conjured up the worst images of systemic racism in America. It was all lie, all farce.
So does that surprise you?
It's just immediate. It's just a distraction, and that's what it is. It's divert from the facts so that we can get our point of view across, and do so without the facts don't mean anything if you got a great story to tell, right?
Yeah, let's rile up the base.
Let's rile up the base. Let's get everyone upset and let's story. And the problem we have, these are the people that we put in office, we didn't put in office, that are put in office. Yeah. Okay. And we expect the truth out of them. Yeah. We expect them to present a narrative that's accurate and correct. And where's the accountability?
Right.
If you get up there and if I make a misrepresentation of the court, look at Rudy Giuliani. He's accused of making misrepresentations. He lost his bar license, can't practice.
Wow.
Maybe prosecuted. Okay. If I make a misrepresentation of the court, I'm in trouble. But you have public officials making knowingly false statements that have a ripple effect.
Yes.
We're not just talking about making a misrepresentation that affects your party in a courtroom or affects one person. This affects policy. It affects society. It causes violence. It causes division. And to knowingly make false statements in the manner that this individual made, there needs to be accountability.
There absolutely
and whether it be prosecution, whether that be censure, whatever the accountability is, or removal from office, there needs to be accountability because what you say, words mean something, especially impeachment.
I think he's the first one to go.
Without a doubt.
That's the easiest case to prove. They say the border's closed. We show it's not. We know it's not. That's the easiest one to prove.
Well, what it is, it's the distraction from the fact. The fact that the border is a leaking sieve.
Yep.
The fact that Border Patrol is undermanned, that Border Patrol is being overrun, and now what do? They attack those same people who are protecting our border by making up lies about them and spewing those lies knowing that they're false. And it's disgusting.
It is. It's horrible. Okay, more with Anthony Rickman. We're going to take a quick break. Coming back, also got our feel-good story of the day. New York ballpark legend Fred Costello sets record for longest playing organist in sports. We'll be right back. Consumer Quarterback Show, ConsumerQB.com.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-917-1894. Online at ConsumerQB.com.
Hey, Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, in studio with Martin Gramatica, that is, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer Super Bowl winner. Lifeguard Imaging, lifeguardimaging.com, saving lives through early detection.
Thanks for having me, Brandon. Yes, that's what we're doing at Lifeguard Imaging. You come in asymptomatic, and that's what we do. You're being proactive. You're coming in. We do a scan from the neck to the pelvis. It's a full body scan. It's a 3D image of every organ, and that's where 90% of the deadliest cancers are, in our mid-region. So we can see everything. But for your listeners, we have a real good special. We have a $599 value, absolutely complimentary. They can come in for a coronary artery scan, which will give you their calcium score, 100% complimentary for your people.
Very cool. Hey, take them up on that offer, 813-917-1894. Call or text, complimentary scan, 813-917-1894, and check them out online, lifeguardimaging.com.
Dennis Prager here for Brandon and Lindsay Rhymes, owners of the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. Buying, selling, investing in real estate, their nationwide Keller Williams network makes them the best team to work with. Sellers, have your property featured live on air, creating multiple offers. Buyers, leverage a unique system that gets your offer accepted, never overlooked. Call or text 813-750-0550, 813-750-0550, or consumerqb.com.
You're listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-917-1894.
All right, welcome back. Brandon Rhymes here in studio with Anthony Rickman, criminal defense attorney here in Tampa Bay. Coming into our feel-good story of the day.
Tell me something good.
All right, New York ballpark legend Fred Costello sets record for longest playing organist in sports. Baseball is a game of tradition, and Rochester Red Wings organist Fred Costello has a single-handedly created one long-time tradition in the ballpark for being recognized for thousands of days and nights spent at a stadium. Costello is in his 46th season as the Red Wings organist. He says, "I love playing the ball games and music," and his first thought was, "Hey, I'm going to be the next Mickey Mantle," but it didn't work out. And he said he started playing the accordion at the age of 7 and switched from the accordion to the organ. And he says, "Why did you do that?" He says, "Well, there's no place to put a drink on the accordion," he said. So one phone call changed his life. Costello made the call to the Red Wings general manager in 1977. He said, "How would you like to have live music at the ballpark?" And the general manager said, "Well, we've never had that. Let's try it for a year." That one-year contract turned into a 46-year tradition. And as tried as it sounds, he said, "I look forward to going to the ballpark each night as much as I did on the first." He was inducted to the Rochester Sports Hall of Fame in 1999. There you have it. It's our feel-good story of the day. All right, Anthony Rickman in the house, local criminal defense attorney. What else are you seeing out there?
Seeing a lot. By the way, traditional baseball is so much better with an organ. You know, you get to a game, you want to hear the organ. It's like, I don't want to hear the music. Let's play the organ. Let's do it all.
It is cool.
Yeah, it really is.
That's unique.
Anyway, but yeah, so I digress. Going back. So yeah, I'm seeing a whole bunch of stuff. You know, a lot of different types of cases. We see, you know, the newly appointed state attorney.
Yes.
You know, one of the things we do see with this newly appointed state attorney is that she's making a lot more arrests, or that a lot more arrests are being made, and that law enforcement is making arrests. Prosecutions are happening more now. Just because there's an arrest doesn't mean it can be proven. And in my experience, what you see is, you know, an increased number of arrests. But the question is, are these arrests, you know, valid? Are they lawful? And for me as a defense attorney, just because you've been arrested, just because you've been accused of a crime, you know, doesn't mean that you're guilty. It means that there's evidence that they have probable cause. But at the end of the day, you know, it's the state's burden of proving the allegation by law enforcement.
Okay.
Whether it be a DUI arrest, whether it be a battery, whether it be possession of marijuana, or whether it be something much more serious, a murder, a financial crime, or something like that. You know, the arrest just starts the case. And seeing the increase of arrests, you know, I see a lot of bad arrests too. You know, and some of these arrests aren't based on probable cause. And a lot of people think, oh, well, it was a bad arrest. I have enough evidence. There's no way they can prosecute me. They won't do anything about it. And they don't do anything. You know, it's not the best approach.
Yeah.
If you've been arrested, if you've been accused of a crime, you need to hire an attorney right away.
Right.
You know, call my office, hire me. I'll get involved right away to hopefully show the state attorney's office why this case shouldn't be prosecuted.
Shouldn't even go to case.
Yeah, because what happens is, you know, you've been arrested. Let's say it's a he said, she said. Let's say it's an allegation. You say you defend yourself. The state gets the file. They bring in the officer. That officer tells the prosecutor their side of the story, their version of the facts. They bring in a witness, that witness, or whether it be an alleged victim. Let's say that victim has a bone to pick, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, you know, current girlfriend you're cheating on the husband with, whatever it is. The state only gets that one side of the story.
Right.
And they don't talk to the defendant.
Right.
And they're making their filing decision on whether or not to charge you criminally.
Yeah.
With a very serious crime sometimes.
Wow.
Based solely on that one side. My involvement in the case, a lot of times, the most effective way is right after the arrest or even before the arrest. So that when somebody's arrested, you call me and say, hey, I was arrested, but here's what really happened.
Yeah.
Unless you have an advocate going to the prosecutor and saying, hey, don't file this charge.
Right.
Here's why. Here's the true facts. Here's the evidence. You don't want to be in a courtroom presenting it to a judge.
Right.
You don't want to be in a courtroom presenting it to a jury. You want to be able to get in front of the case, to avoid the prosecution.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can get your record expunged. It can be all erased, and you can
Right.
you can act like this never happened in your life. It's a false allegation.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that it's just going to sort itself out, and that's not true.
Right.
It's very important that if you've been accused or arrested for anything, you contact an attorney right away and you hire an attorney. I'm very proactive in my work. I have a team at my law firm of investigators, paralegals, myself, and we engage at the early stages of the case to avoid a formal charge, because arrest is not a formal charge. It just starts the process in a criminal case. It starts speedy trial. It starts the court proceedings. Without having an advocate walking into the prosecutor's office and saying, here's what's wrong with your case, here's why you shouldn't file. A lot of times cases are filed that shouldn't be filed because either one, they got bad advice from lawyers, they didn't seek counsel, or they didn't get a good lawyer to do it.
Let me ask you here something you hear too with the Mar-a-Lago story, playing out. Trump was compelled. What's the latest with Trump? They made him.
Yeah, latest with Trump. There's the investigation going on. You see his attorney coming out, one of his attorneys coming out and saying, "Well, I was told to sign this affidavit, saying that everything that he had in his possession was given over." And now she's backtracked and said, "I was just doing what I was told." Look, when you sign your name to something, you sign your name to something. And I'm hoping for her sake she has a good disclaimer to say, that's what she was doing. But at the end of the day, look, we know what the government wants. The government being the party in charge.
Yep.
The government in charge, the FBI. They want a prosecution of Trump.
Yep.
And we see it. The low-hanging fruit, in my opinion, is Mar-a-Lago.
Mm-hmm.
They tried with January 6th. They're trying to get him to testify before the committee. They're trying to bring him into the January 6th circumstances. We know a trial is going on right now with the Oath Keepers, the big sedition trial. That hasn't really worked for them. And now they're moving to, the New York subpoenas, with the Trump Foundation, all the New York subpoenas, and now they're switching over to Mar-a-Lago because, in my opinion, they see it as a low-hanging fruit. We told you to give us these documents. You didn't give us these documents. These documents are still in your care and custody and possession. He's claiming privilege. He's claiming that they're no longer secret or it's top secret or confidential, that he can keep them. But the bottom line, he has them after they asked to return it. And that, for them, that could be the linchpin, unfortunately. That could be something that they can hang a prosecution on.
What's the potential for, what would that call for? Would that keep him from running? How would that?
Just because it's a pending prosecution, I don't believe that would prevent him from running. But obviously, to have a person running for president or a sitting president under indictment, it's not a good look, to say the least. But at the end of the day, he still has the right to defend himself against these allegations. So you talk about what they're trying to do. Obviously, they're trying to discourage him from running. They're trying to prevent him from running. And I think this legal process shows you their intent to try and stop Trump.
And their strategy with the echo chambers of MSDNC and CNN and all that. Final thought I wanted to mention was the one of the other cases. I just lost it, but Anthony Rickman here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. The local prosecutor, wasn't there a prosecutor that was pulled?
Yeah, so Andrew Warren, who was our sitting prosecutor, was pulled by Governor Ron DeSantis for refusing and his saying that Andrew Warren said he wasn't going to prosecute certain types of cases,
right?
And also that he was not prosecuting certain types of cases, African Americans stopped on bicycles, as well as other cases. The governor pulled him from state attorney's office, appointed Susie Lopez, who's now our sitting state attorney. Andrew Warren has appealed and has sued the governor for that. It's now in the appellate court's. Trial is set in November to determine whether or not Andrew Warren's removal was constitutional. Whether or not it was a violation of his First Amendment rights. And essentially what the removal paperwork says, or the order submitted by the governor, is that he pulled him back because Andrew Warren refused to prosecute cases that involved doctors who perform transgender surgeries and doctors who perform abortions in violation of Florida law. And the former state attorney Andrew Warren's argument is that that's my First Amendment right. And we'll see what the court says.
Interesting. All right. Always a pleasure. Anthony Rickman, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. Rickman back.
The website.
www.therickmanlawfirm.com, 813-999-0502.
All right, buddy. Good stuff. All right. Hey, another great show. Thanks to our team. Thanks for producers, everybody putting the show together. Please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness. We'll see you next time on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Call Brandon Rhymes at 813-917-1894. That's 813-917-1894. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show.